night thoughts, late night vlog, if you will. So it's about 1:30 in the morning. I'm at a new location, hoping the internet is better here so no one can make fun of me and poke at me and call me Freeze Bean this week. But we're at a new place, long day, and I have some thoughts about some recent events or happenings, let's call them, in Jetland. So the main one I want to talk about tonight is this Marcus Maye thing. Now, we'll dovetail that with just a portion of the press conference that Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh had held this week. So a couple days ago, Rich Cimini says, hey, on Twitter, Jets cut Henry Anderson, first salary cap casualty. Then Field Yates comes on in response to Cimini and says, oh yeah, the Jets are looking like they'll have about $80 million in cap space. Great. Nice, productive, constructive conversations. And then Marcus Maye's agent, Mr. Eric Burkhart, comes in with yet refused to take care of their best player, captain and team voted MVP in his prime, who had several All-Pro votes and who played out his entire rookie deal and even changed positions on his contract year after they got rid of last year's All-Pro safety. So what's that all about? So number one, there are some good points there. And those points should be heard so everyone knows what we're talking about. You don't want people just thinking one thing or the other. You want to try to control the dialogue, right? At least as far as the fans and everybody's concerned. You want to get energy pushing in a certain direction. And that's the agent's job, so I get it. He's saying, look, let's not forget. The Jets had an All-Pro safety that they said they were going to sign and didn't. Marcus Maye didn't complain, with Adam Gase being a complete joke. He didn't complain the end of Bowles, basically Bowles' Walking Dead year. Marcus Maye never said a peep. He was a good soldier, and he even changed positions for the betterment of the team during a year that everybody knew was going to be a complete waste, okay, a wash. He did that for the team, took it on the team, which could affect his stats and all that, which could affect his ability to command certain salary. So I understand. It's good to get those things out there. But what I don't really love is the fact that they do this through social media. I just don't think it's very professional. Now, obviously, the world is a-changing and leaving me by in some respects. I still like pocket passers, so there's that. Contract negotiations, in my opinion, should probably be held somewhat privately, confidential. But let's point something out about Joe Douglas. Now, this is obviously a shot, okay? It's not saying, hey, we're having some difficulty. We're at odds with the numbers. He said, the tweet was, the Jets have $80 million. His response was, yet they refuse to take care of their best player. That's the first sentence. That's the response. Then there's all the reasons for the response after that. Yet they have $80 million, yet they refuse to take care. So that's insinuating that there's a major gap, that they're not showing any real willingness to take care of this guy. Which it doesn't sound like, if you listen to it from Joe Douglas's side. It's really interesting because that type of a sentence could invoke negative response, right? Like, well, maybe Eric Burkhart should shut up or something, you know what I mean? Something negative. A lot of fans are getting negative about this. So when you look at Joe Douglas's response, he was asked this question directly in the press conference, and his response was, I think Burkhart is a great person. That's his response. I think he's a great person. I've had a lot of great conversations with him. You guys know how I feel about Marcus. This is a part of the business. This is part of negotiating. I don't see this affecting our ability to get something done with Marcus that's beneficial for both him and the team. So I want to point out how professional this guy really is. You know, we've had Tannenbaum and, you know, and Rex in control. We had Idzik, who didn't, you know, remember his press conferences? They were like listening to somebody that was their first time ever talking about football. Then you have Mike McCagnon and all. So it's just Joe Douglas knowing how to respond to these types of things. He's not going to get baited into some sort of Twitter war. He's not even going to say anything, you know, point blank, or I'm not going to answer the question. He basically says in response, oh, I love that guy. I love him. I love Marcus. I love Eric Burkhart. You guys know that. I love these guys. My position hasn't changed one bit on any of this. So there's pro there, but it doesn't say anything. And we know that because of what we saw last year in the Jamal Adams situation. He literally said up until as far as he could, Jamal Adams is a stud. The plan is for Jamal to be a Jet for life, knowing full well he was trading Jamal Adams. In my opinion, he knew he was trading Jamal Adams the trade deadline the year before. That's when he knew he was going to trade Jamal Adams. The whole year or whatever it was leading up to the trade was all lip service and working the system in a professional manner. And that's what we're seeing now. So there are a couple pros and cons to this stuff. Number one, I think that Joe Douglas actually does like Marcus Maye. I think that the changing of position and things like that are not lost on Joe Douglas. Here's a guy going into his contract year. He just lost the other all-pro safety next to him. We have a lame duck coach. Everybody knows he's a lame duck coach, and Joe Douglas knew it too. The guy switches positions for the betterment of the team, doesn't say a peep, doesn't squawk, nothing. I don't think that type of stuff is lost on Joe Douglas. I think he knows, and I think he does like Marcus Maye. I do. How do you not like him? But he's also not going to give that out. He's not going to do like what Rex Ryan did and basically sang from every mountaintop that Revis was the greatest player in the history of the NFL, which didn't benefit us in the contract negotiations, right? So Joe Douglas is keeping it tight-lipped. He's remaining complimentary. And I do believe it's genuine this time. But here's the thing about if he's not. Number one, it's okay to have a cold-blooded GM. It's okay for everyone to know he's cold-blooded. Let them be cold-blooded too as far as negotiations go. He's got to carve out this name for himself and this response to him and an awareness about how he does it, that he's point blank. He's not going to be manipulated. But if Joe Douglas chooses to do the same thing with Marcus Maye that he did with Jamal to some degree, like sign and trade or you know, whatever it might be. If he chooses to get rid of him after this type of lip service, I do wonder, and I talked about this in last week's podcast, I do wonder at what point we're going to be able to sign someone of our own long-term, a meaningful extension, let's call it. Now, this is really the end of the Mike McCagnon guys. I mean, this is like, I mean, him, Sam, there's a smattering, Herndon, of guys that McCagnon picked that are still even on the team worthy of consideration. Marcus Maye is way up at the top of that list. But this might just be Joe Douglas is saying, I don't really want to break the bank for any of these guys. They're not guys I would have picked. Sure, he's a nice player, but I can go pick a guy for half price or less, and he's going to give me the same production kind of a thing. But I do worry about that impact on the team. Now, if these are all Joe Douglas guys and they just know that he's going to take care of his own guys, then maybe it's not a big deal. But I do wonder what the impact will be. So, guys, one more reason to believe we have a pro's pro in our general manager position. You heard Robert Saleh. I'll make a whole other video about the press conference and some tidbits that a lot of people are not talking about yet. But, guys, we have a pro in the office. He knows what to say. He knows how to say it. Not only did he not get baited into a Twitter argument, he actually poured love on this. I love that guy. He's my best friend. Which is interesting, and it's a change, and I like it. So that all said, don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you're getting more rest than I am, and I'll see you next time.